Okay, we're going to do 2 1/3 minus 1 2/3. So here's my wholes, here's my parts. So right here, just to the side, I'm going to kind of write I want to write our algorithm, like what we're doing right here. Okay, so I have 2 1/3 minus 1 and, 2 1/3 minus 1 2/3. So can I take away 1 2/3 right now? So right now, let's write, just right here, we're going to write 2, and right here we're going to write 1/3. Can I take away, I always start, think about when you are doing this, you always start, when you're subtracting, you always start like on this side, right? So I'm going to start by subtracting the fractions. Can I do 1/3? Can I take away 2/3 from this?
No.
Well, what am I going to have to do?
Take a whole.
I'm going to have to borrow. I'm going to have to, so y'all are exactly right. I'm going to have to borrow. So this 2 is now going to become 1. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to move it to the parts. So since that's parts, so I need to take that and put what? How many? So I'm going to exchange it for, I'm going to exchange it for 3 what? 3/3. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to exchange it for, 3/3. I just added 3/3 right there, right? Correct? Okay. So now how many thirds do I have over here in my parts? 4/3. So I want you to be writing this with me. I want us to come look at this part up here. So I just took 2 and I borrowed and I made that a 1. Right? Do I make this 1 and 11? No. How much did I just add to it when I borrowed that whole? 3/3. Why was it 3? Why was it 3/3? Because it's 3 to make a whole. So I'm going to write plus 3/3. Just like that. Just like we did right here. Now right here I have 4/3. So I'm just going to kind of write right here 4/3. Maybe I'll even kind of erase that. All right, 4/3. Now can I subtract 2/3? Yes, so I'm going to take away 2/3. Can I subtract 1 whole?
Yes. No. Oh, yeah.
Yes. How much am I left with?
0.
2/3. So what is 2 1/3 minus 1 2/3? 2/3, right? All right, we're going to do another one. So if we had 1, if the orange is a whole, then that means we know the yellows are halves and the reds are, because how many reds make a whole? 5. What were the whites worth? 10ths, because there's 10 to make a whole. I know I don't have all that, but that's 10. So that being said, we're going to solve a problem now, and it is going to be, well, first of all, I want us to make sure that we do our wholes and our parts again. So I'm going to move that to the side. We're going to put our wholes with our wholes and our parts with our parts. And we're going to have the problem, and I'm just going to keep a common denominator for right now until we've got this going. I'm going to do 2 1/5 minus 3/5. So what I want you to do is I want everyone to show me 2 1/5 to begin with on here. I need to grab another one. And I want to take away 3/5. So let's just, so that we know what we have, we're going to go ahead and just write, like right here we've got 2, and right here we have 1/5, right? Can I do 3 minus 3/5?
No.
Okay, so I need to make an exchange. I need to borrow. I need to borrow from the holes. So I'm going to make this a 1, and I'm going to move this over here. So if I just move that hole to the parts, I need to make it parts, right? So I'm exchanging it for what? 5/5. And it's 5/5 because that's how we make a hole. Okay? Does that mean that we're going to get rid of this 5th? That stays. I'm just going to make an exchange right here. Maybe. So I'm exchanging this, okay? So I'm making an exchange. So what I just did, because I'm going to show it right here also, is that I just added 5/5.
So that would be 1 1/5.
Well, yes, it's 1 1/5, but we made it 6/5, right? Now, we made it improper. I know that some of us want to be like, wait a minute, that's improper. But we had to do that so we can subtract. So let's just show real quick what we did right here. What did we do to, like over here with our, like in our algorithm here, what did we do with this 2?
Cross it out and make it a 1.
We're going to cross it out and make it a 1 because I borrowed a hole. So if I'm borrowing, I'm not just going to turn this into 11. I'm going to put what? What did I add to it?
1 whole.
Which is what?
6.
5/5, right? So I did plus 5. I mean, that's really 5/5, right? That's my whole. So now, how many parts do I have?
1 whole. 1 whole.
I have, the parts are 6/5, right?
Yes. So you would have 1 whole. So you would have 1.
So I have 1 over here and 6/5 in the parts. So now can I subtract 3/5?
Yes.
Okay, so I want you to all take 3/5 away.
It ends you up with.
So what is my answer to 2 1/5 minus 3/5? 1 3/5. All right, now I'm going to have us do a problem. So I have 4 cups of milk, and I am going to use 2 3/5 cups of milk. How much milk do I have left? What am I going to do to solve that? Subtract. So I'm going to subtract 4 minus 2 3/5. Right? So if I'm going to write it like up and down, how I would kind of solve the problem, how would I write that?
Well, first you write 4.
4?
Then you write a 2 underneath that 4. And then to the side, next to that, you write 2.
Yes, because I'm going to put, like we've talked about with decimals and all that, I'm going to do my holes with my holes and my parts with my parts. So let's go ahead and represent that on here. We're still using the orange for the holes, and you might need to kind of share again. But we're going to do 4 holes. Okay, so I have 4 holes, and I want to subtract 2 3/5, right? So I'm going to go ahead and wait, there's nothing for me to take away. I have no fifths to take away. So I have to take a hole and I am going to exchange it. So I got to move it over here. So what is that going to be worth? 5/5. So I did have 4 right here, but I just borrowed 1 and made that 3, and I made this 5/5. So let's show what we did over here. I'm going to kind of just show that. What did I do right here? What should I do right here where I'm working it out? I'm going to cross out the 4 and make that a 3. And then I'm going to put what right here? 5/5. Now can I subtract 2 and 3/5? All right, so now do it. Like physically do it with your Cuisinart rods.
It gets you 1 and 2/5.
You're subtracting 2 and 3/5 from what you have. So I'm going to take away 3/5. 1, 2, 3/5.
1 and 2/5.
And then I'm going to take away 2 holes. So I'm going to take away 2 holes. And who can raise your hand and tell me what am I left with? Who can raise your hand and tell me what am I left with? Caitlin. 1 and 2/5. All right. So, I know this is hard to see, but it says Jesse lives 2 1/4 miles from school. Bowen lives 1.5 miles from school. How much further does Bowen live from school than Jesse? So, what am I going to do? What operation? But what operation am I going to do? Subtract. So, we're going to go ahead and write 2 1/4 minus 1 1/2. Okay? Now, what's the first thing I'm going to have to do before I can start solving this? Find a common denominator. Okay, so I want you to make sure that you listen to this because I already know the mistakes that y'all will make before you make them. If we come to the side to find a common denominator, I need you to make sure you write the whole number with it.
1 second.
Okay?
And
So,
2/4.
I am going to, I see that 4 can be a common denominator, right? So that means that becomes 1 2/4. Don't try to do it from here. You need to rewrite the problem. Since I know that we're all doing this with me, this is going to become 2 1/4 minus 1 2/4. You could do 8 as a common denominator. It's just not your least common. But yes, you could. You're just going to end up having to simplify it. Okay? Okay, if I have 2 1/4, then I want to subtract 1 2/4. I've got 2 holes. How many are in each hole? How many in each hole? How many make up a hole? 4. And then I have 1/4. Y'all don't have to draw the models if you don't want to. That's fine. But I need you to do the math with me, okay? So I have 2 1/4. And I have my holes and my holes and my parts and my parts. Can I subtract 2/4 from this? No, so I'm going to have to borrow. So I'm going to need to take one of these right here and move it to right here, right? So that one's gone. So let's talk about right here. What I'm doing right here. What did I do right here? What should I do to show what what do I need to write here to show what I did right here?
You need to cross out the 2 and make it a 1, and then put an addition sign, and then plus 4/4.
Plus 4/4. 4/4 because I borrowed a whole. A lot of us want to just stick a 1 in front of this and make that 11/4, but it's not 10 to make a whole, so I can't do that.
Yeah, that would mean it's a problem.
So now, how much do I have over here in my parts? 5/4, and then I have 1 there. So I have 5/4. Now can I subtract 1 2/4? Yes. Yes, it is a half. So I can subtract 1 2/4, and I can subtract 1 whole. So what am I left with? How much are in the holes? Okay, so I have 3/4 here, and I have 0 holes right here once I took that away. So right here, 5/4 minus 2/4 is 3/4. 1 minus 1 is 0. So my answer is just 3/4. I don't really need that, right?
You can simplify it with a fraction, but I'm guessing.
All right. We're going to erase.